Hello everybody and welcome back to the Silicon Nubian YouTube channel where we do all things tech. Following the prompting from one of the comments I got in a distribution review, I think it was Maui that I looked at, and someone had mentioned that they really liked the KDE implementation in PCLinuxOS. PCLinuxOS has a soft spot in my heart as it's one of the distributions I fell in love with. And I'm talking about rolling release, really pretty to look at, beautiful to look at, nice distribution, kind of an all-in-one package, which actually wasn't the case a number of years ago with distributions. Now we have the Linux Mints of the world, the Ubuntus, the OpenSUSE, and whatnot. But PCLinuxOS was really one of the first distributions that I used to install on clients' machines. And the beautiful thing about it is I rarely, if ever, got a service call. Once I had sat down with them for a short amount of time, usually an hour or so, and went through the mechanics of it and the differences compared to Windows, where they were usually coming from, some even from OS X or Mac OS at that time. So we thought I'd take a quick look at the PCLinuxOS. This is the 2017.07, which means the July release, which is the last update that I think that they have. This is running KDE Plasma desktop, and just wanted to take a look around and see how PC Linux has changed. I believe I did take a look at it early on in the life of this channel, but being a rolling release and a lot of things going on in the community, I thought I'd take another look. So this is the default desktop after installation. Quite simple, quite clean. Their motto is "So cool, ice cubes are jealous." So we'll see how cool PC Linux is. Techstar is the person behind this. He is a developer who has massive amounts of respect in the Linux world, also known by the name Bill Reynolds, and many contributors who continue to contribute to this incredibly good Linux distribution. So this is the KDE. Once again, PCLinuxOS is a rolling release. It has a few idiosyncrasies, and we'll get through that as we delve deeper into this distribution. So this is it's designed now for x64, 64-bit desktops. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the official releases of PCLinuxOS no longer support 32-bit. Of course, there are community builds out there, and I'm not sure if they do or if they don't. It includes a script, which is really interesting, called MyLiveCD, which will take a snapshot of the current hard drive installation and compress it into either an ISO, CD, DVD, or USB image. So it's very good to back up your installation and also to create portable media so that if you go somewhere else, you can just plug it in, boot from that, and your basic desktop is there. Okay, so let's get into it a little bit more, I should say. PCLinuxOS, right-clicking on the desktop, we have a very good and very full menu here. We have a lot of things we can do, lock widgets, add widgets, a lot of widgets here that we can put on. Again, this is KDE Plasma, so of course it will have that. There's so many here, it's quite incredible. Some of them are already installed, and some are not. So here we are, that's it. So right clicking again, we can lock screen, we can leave, we can open with Dolphin. We'll see that Dolphin is the default file manager, which is great with me, not a problem with that. Dolphin is very good, very capable, and something that I can live with quite easily. Of course, we have different things showing the desktop. If here, refresh the desktop, we have activities, configure the desktop, and here we can choose wallpapers, which are not changed in real time, but they do have a good selection of pretty good wallpapers here. And we can see that things can change very quickly and very easily. We could also have the mouse actions, location, icons. Okay, show on the desktop folder. And KDE, of course, and with everything else, they take they push the paradigm of the desktop being another folder to another level, and it's makes it a lot more flexible. filter, and we have tweaks, show the desktop toolbox, and whatnot. So we go OK. So here we have our new desktop. If you look, once again, we'll right click, you can run commands and whatnot, icons, arrange, and OK. From the get-go, you can see that the KDE implementation has a lot of features, much more so than an LXDE or XFCE, Cinnamon, and whatnot. I think only GNOME has as many features, but even then, GNOME is, in my opinion, not as featureful as KDE. This does not mean that the other DE's desktop environments are any less capable or diminish in terms of quality. It's just that if you wish to use all these features, they're there for you to use at the expense, of course, of system load, because these are heavier to run, GNOME and KDE. Let's go down to the bottom toolbar. We right click, it's a panel, we can have options, there's alternatives, icons only, task managers. So we're basically with this, we are configuring the look and feel of the panel and some of the aspects of the DE, which is short for desktop environment. Here we have our notifications. Here we show that the network is up, and it'll show what the network card is, and we can go to advanced settings and change a whole lot of stuff in there. So much to do, so much that can be done via very nice and simple GUI utilities. Or right clicking, we have the usual disconnect. We can configure VPN right there. Here with batteries, there's no batteries available. If you're on a laptop or a portable device, obviously this would activate. Here we have the KDE Connect with the associated settings for KDE Connect. And here we have most recent devices that are attached, or external devices, or whatever's in our CD-ROM drive if you happen to have one, or DVD. Here we have the clipboard manager, the volume control, left clicking once, very nice, very nice. Right clicking, well, we can get into the Pulse Audio mixer if we wish. Or right clicking as well, we can get into the ALSA mixer. Good old ALSA mixer, it just won't die, and because it works very well. And audio volume settings, we can go to the settings panel for the audio settings, and you can see that it's a lot more extensive than some other distributions. Of course, again, KDE bringing that extensive feature set to the forefront with the audio volume, keyboard shortcuts. Have a lot of stuff here. Here we have the calendar. It's a little bit more elaborate than a lot of the other DEs, but all in all does almost the same thing. Right clicking, we could adjust time and date, event calendar settings. It is an event calendar. It will alarm. You can set alarms and whatnot. Okay, and over here we have some other adjustments for extra widgets, spacers, more settings, and whatnot. The depth of the settings and the flexibility of KDE is just a lot deeper than can be done in one video. So that's not the desire of this video. This is just to show the present incarnation of PCLinuxOS with KDE as its desktop environment. Again, this is the only icon on the desktop. We have Dolphin, which is fine with me. Absolutely. And we can see that we're running Dolphin 17.0.2. Being a rolling release, you have a better chance of getting more current software. And the KDE right here we're running. Here we report, join KDE, support KDE, and about. Interesting that they don't have, from what I can see, initially at least, there is always a way to find out. They don't really show the version number. It is definitely 5, but we don't know which build. It's not listed here, which is interesting. So I'll close. Okay, so let's continue a little further. Down here we have Quick Launch. We have Google Chrome, which is a browser, very good browser, obviously. We have a Synaptic Package Manager, and this is where one of the idiosyncrasies of, or I should call it idiosyncrasies, to some it's a feature of PCLinuxOS comes to the forefront. By default, I'm not aware if that, I don't believe, and I don't think they've changed this. I can be corrected in the comments, but I don't think they've changed it. There is no automatic updater. Therefore, it is up to you to go in here and, at least by default, and check for upgrades. There's none. I did upgrade, as usual, my policy for running videos. There's no automatic updater, so the user will go in and search for updates themselves. My understanding is there are some apps available, automatic updaters. There might even be a widget for that. So that right away kind of tells you a few things about the OS and who it's targeted for. And I don't think that's a negative thing. Advanced or moderate users or middle users or who are moderately experienced with Linux, this should not be an issue. With brand new users, you will install the system, and if you came from an Ubuntu or Mint or even Manjaro, you might be lost to wonder why there are no updates available or nothing's telling you. You have to go in and get them. Okay. Here we have PC Linux Control Center. Now, this is great. This is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, again, this was taken from older Mandrake / Mandriva Linux, and PC Linux made it their own and really modified it quite a bit. I could be wrong. Those old-time Linux users in this who are watching this can correct me. So here we go to software management. Here we can just start a Synaptic package manager. We have sharing. We can configure, and of course, you can configure a web server, so there's some server functionality. Configure FTP. You can add Samba and a few other things if it's not included by default, and I'm not going to check that. It's outside the scope of this video. And you would probably have more options in here. Network services, DNS, configure time, configure proxy, OpenSSH, configure DHCP. Hardware, so we can set up the graphical server. We have a few extra things we can do here. And to just a lot of things that we can do. Some we can't. UPS for power monitoring, printers, and whatnot. Okay. Network and internet. Network center, remove connection, set up new device with proxy, manage network, share internet connection with other, configure VPN and host definitions. We have system. Authentication, manage, remove fonts, date and time, manage users and whatnot. Network sharing, here we are. So yes, we do have it. We have access SMB shared drives. We share drives using SMB, and we can use SMB, NFS, and then there's WebDAV share. So all of that is included by default after installation, which is great. A lot of flexibility here, a lot of flexibility. Local disks, we can manage partitions, share your hard disk partitions. So security, set up your firewall and configure authentication tools in boot. We can boot it automatically, set up a display manager, or set up the boot system. So there's a lot of things we can do here without having to drop the CLI, which is a boon for new users who will like to get in and get started right away. The next icon is the KDE system settings. Settings specific to KDE itself. And here we have a lot of things. Workspace theme, Breeze Dark, Oxygen. You can always get new looks. You can go back. We have colors. You can change the colors if you wish. Default. So we're on Breeze right now. And if you change the colors, you can see how everything changes pretty fast. Let's go back to the default. Here we are. Fonts. Font selection and font management. Icons. Of course, we can change icons via different icon packs. So the default we're using right now, we're using Le Capitan. There's the Breeze pack. We'll stick with that. And you can always get different font packs. Icon packs, please excuse me. Application styles. Lots of configuration. Lots. Desktop effects. We can deal with the desktop effects, invert the color, track the mouse, snap helper, mouse click animation, and whatnot. Window management, shortcuts, startup, notifications. There's a ton of stuff in here, folks. Like I said, KDE brings to the table a DE, desktop environment that you can twist and turn and configure any way you want to look any way you want, pretty much, as was seen in our review of Maui. So here we go. And here we have File Manager again, and then we go to the application menu. This is a very standard application menu, at least out of the box, but even this can be changed to how you want it. You can go to application menu settings, the icon, which icon do you want to use? You can choose your own icon, behavior, and you can change a few aspects of that as well. Keyboard shortcuts. KDE is completely keyboard shortcut enabled, as most DEs are. So let's go to applications. We'll start off with power session, of course. Video. Power, of course, is suspend, hibernate, log out, and whatnot. Video, we have KDE and Live. OBS Studio is included if you want to record your desktop or stream desktop activity. Spotify, VLC Media Player. An interesting mix of applications. I would add Clementine, that's one of my favorites. Or Amarok, it's up to you. Sound, we have Blockify, which I'm not familiar with. I guess it's Spotify for Linux or something like that. Maybe someone could tell me what that is. We have Dead Beef, which looks like a sound playback. Pulse audio volume control, Spotify, we've done that. Software Center. By default, we have LibreOffice. No song playing. Blockify comes up. I guess it was checking online for something. If we go to the Software Center, we'll see that we have different sections here too. We have VirtualBox Manager. And starting VirtualBox, we have LibreOffice Manager. And let's just start that. So it allows us to grab this software, even though it was installed by default. So LibreOffice 5.4.2, welcome to LibreOffice Manager. You can reinstall, install, reinstall, upgrade, or add LibreOffice locale, or completely remove. And telling us that no changes were applied. So we can do that with Localization Manager, Synaptic Package Manager. Okay. Office, we can see that we have LibreOffice installed by default, and it's 5.3. If I'm not mistaken, 5.342. This is interesting. So 5.342 is installed. But if we go to Software Center, we can get 5.4.2 installed. Interesting. Okay. Let's move further on. So we have the LibreOffice KeepPass, of course, a very capable password manager. Move up to Internet. We have Chalkbook, which I guess is something for, looks like a Twitter icon actually. Microblogging services. Okay, there we go. Yeah. We have Dropbox, which is included. Thank you. KDE Connect, Google Chrome, which is the browser, default browser, Network Center, Pigeon Internet Messenger. Haven't seen that in a while. We have Qubit Torrent, Skype for Linux, Beta, and Thunderbird. So we have Thunderbird, but we have no Mozilla Firefox. They've chosen Chrome over Thunderbird, the developers. In graphics, we have GIMP, GwenView, LibreOffice Draw, Simple Scan, and Spectacle, which is a screen capturing utility, I believe. It could do a little bit more than that, I'm sure. Games, we have K-Patience. I'm not a big fan of games on Linux. I should correct that. Not games in general. I like AAA and AA titles, but these little time killers, I don't like. I think it's a waste of time for me, but your mileage may vary. File tools, we have BleachBit, BleachBit Root, Dolphin, Kfind, Zulu Crypt, Zulu Mount. Okay, so we can encrypt or decrypt folders and volumes. Editors, Kwrite, development, icon browser, LibreOffice Base, and a few other things. Configuration, here we have a lot. Of course, we already saw the control center. So here we have DD copy. Interesting. Create a bootable US key, format the USB device, create a bootable. So this is very interesting. Copy the system over to another device. As I've mentioned before, that probably uses that script that I mentioned before, my live CD. I'd have to do a little bit more investigation with that. Okay. So we have KDE Connect, Gparted, HP device, HPK Docker, LibreOffice, K Wallet. A lot of different things here. Archiving, we have Arc and MyLive GTK. Okay, to create an ISO. There we are. That's the GTK front end from MyLive CD. Okay, very good. And more applications gives us htop. And we can see some things here, what's going on in the system with respect to processes and whatnot. And we could use htop to kill processes as well. Get a little bit more insight into what's happening behind the scenes. The console, ksysguard, we'll put that up there. We can see we've been tooling around a bit, but with the system monitor open, we are using 650 megs of memory, zero swap space. Our CPU is crawling along, doing little things, but nothing significant. Actually, it's pretty lean. It's actually more lean than a few other Linux distributions that I've used before that have KDE, at least at this point. We have VirtualBox, which I did install separately. VirtualBox Manager and Xterm, an older but goody terminal. So that's your look at the applications. Now let's take a look at what's under the core here. Okay. So we can see that after updates, as of the recording of this video, we are running kernel 4.11.8 PCLinuxOS 1, which of course they've modified the kernel. It's not a stock kernel. They've had some changes done to it. 64-bit. We can see that that's going on right there. So all in all, that's a quick look at PCLinuxOS. Installation was absolutely very simple. It did take a little while though, a little longer than some other Linux distributions, but that could just be an idiosyncrasy with respect to installing it in a virtual machine. As you saw the pop-up from below, I am running it in a virtual machine. What is my take on PCLinuxOS? Still love it. Let's just put it like that. For the newbie, out-of-box experience is very good. There are some confusing things in how things are organized in the application menu. That could be a little better out of box, but I don't find it's a big thing. There's more applications instead of putting, for example, htop under utilities or file tools. It's not really a file tool, is it? I guess it doesn't have, there's no utilities folder, so I guess they just put this in there. And sound and video is separated instead of putting it under just a simple multimedia folder or title. So those are small things. I still believe, honestly, that PCLinuxOS is one of the best out there. It has a lot of competition now. A lot of competition from the likes of Linux Mint, Manjaro, and whatnot. In particular, when you're talking about rolling releases, you have Chakra OS, which is absolutely fabulous and something that you must check out if you want to check a rolling release based on Arch, but taken in a slightly different direction. We have Manjaro, my favorite, and a few others. PCLinuxOS brings to the table a very stable base. It's got a lot of useful applications. It comes out of the box ready to make it your own. Change it the way you want it. It comes like a blank slate almost. It's running, I believe, the latest version of KDE Plasma that's stable. So you have tons of configuration options. Performance is actually very good for a KDE-based distro. I've been using it for a bit now, and it really runs quite well. Very snappy to use. So that's not an issue at all. There is one thing to mind about the automatic update feature, which is I believe, pretty much non-existent. Or if it does exist, please tell me. But that's something that you can remedy really well, really easily. And apart from that, if you don't want it, you're not going to have it. You can go and get an updater if you want. Or there are scripts out there and other GUI third-party or add-ons you can use. So all in all, PCLinuxOS still deserves to be on the must-see list for anybody getting into Linux, serious or otherwise. It's a fantastic choice and definitely has to be mentioned in the same breath as Ubuntu, Mint, Manjaro, OpenSUSE, Fedora, and whatnot. And it's not last. It's not in last place among those either. So that's my quick look at PCLinuxOS. I've looked at it before a while back, and looking at it again, I am even more impressed by how it's grown, and it's a fabulous distribution and something that I think they should take a look at. If you like what you see, please give us a thumbs up, and we'd be happy with that, honestly. Also, check us out at PC Construction Zone for those who are into building and modifying computers as well as computer hardware. We also have technology and computer enthusiasts for those who are into general computer discussion. We do that as well. And our more commercial offering is Silicon Nubian. All of these are Facebook groups, and you're welcome to check it out. So that's our quick look, and thanks for watching, and see you soon. We do have an upcoming Ryzen 5 1600X build, which will be my main daily driver PC, and yes, it will be running Linux. Take care. Come back soon.